Founders Blend was a concept that was brought up last year. I work for Midland Development Corporation as our business retention and expansion coordinator, and so I meet with a dozen or so local businesses each month, and the more businesses that I met with, the more I just heard from entrepreneurs about how hard it is running a business. And the thing is, a lot of the time you feel like you're battling running a business by yourself, and it's kind of lonely. And so the idea of creating a safe space where entrepreneurs can come and get mentorship and just get fellowship, getting to hear oh yeah, I deal with that too, can go a long way. It can help you grow your business. It can help you teach other businesses how to grow, all of those things. So we decided to create Founders Blend alongside our community partners, Midland College, UTPB, 40 Wolves Marketing, Second Story Co-working, BAM Consulting. All of us got together because we deal with entrepreneurs and business owners, and we thought we should just make something each month. We get, coffee donated, and it's just an hour where we can ask questions about how to grow our business or how to just thrive in Midland and Odessa. And so that's why we started Founders Blend. So we only started in April of this year, so we're still constantly learning and wanting feedback. So feel free to reach out to any of the community volunteers here because we are all ears for what works best for you. And after you guys have signed in, so I just want to make sure we have that covered. Founders Blend is free and open to the public, and it's a space for obviously entrepreneurs, investors, founders, students, or even people who just have an idea and they don't know exactly how to bring it to fruition. So you're going to hear from two businesses today. New Angle Capital will be one of the businesses, and that is owned by Cody Reeves. And then you're also going to hear from Simply, our first female-owned business will be presenting today. And so it will be a short presentation, and then after that presentation, the majority of the time is Q&A. So as you're listening to these presentations, be brainstorming, okay, I want to ask them this, and think the more intentional you are and almost the more vulnerable you are, the more you get out of something, right? And so I want you to keep that in mind when you're like, I really hate public speaking. I do not want to ask a question. Just put yourself out there because chances are you're not alone in wanting to get an answer to that question. So without further ado, I am going to introduce Simply Midland. So Simply Midland is an alternative health and wellness center. It was founded by local West Texans, Salone Britt and Heather Claybrook. Services include IV and vitamin injection therapy, infrared sauna, cold plunge, ozone therapy, and more. Wow, that sounds like a really good retreat for business owners. Their goal is to bring Midland a wellness clinic that offers unique treatment, education, and recourse to help you lead your best healthy life. We want to keep it simple and keep your life well. So without further ado, let's please welcome Salone Britt and Heather Claybrook.
Thanks, Sammy.
Yes, thank you so much.
Hi, everyone. Thank y'all for coming out this morning. We're going to talk a little bit about Simply. Sammy gave y'all a good overview of the services we offer. So we're really going to focus a lot on more our partnership, building the brand, and some pain points where we're growing, and our goals over the next few years. So these are just some of our services at the center. We're located in Ally Village. We opened the physical storefront in January of this year, so we've only been open for about 7 months. But we kind of started our brand last summer, which we'll get into a little bit here. So we started, like I said, last summer. Heather and I met in April of last year. I'll let Heather kind of speak to us meeting and deciding to become partners in this because it wasn't the best timing for me.
When Salone and I met, I was 3 months postpartum, and I had just had my appendix taken out. And she came to me and said, hey, do you want to start this business? I heard a lot about you. You're really into alternative medicine. And I was like, that sounds great. Call me in about a year, and then we can think about it or talk about it. But one of the things that I love about Salone, and I tell her this all the time, is that she's really pushy, but in a wonderful way. So somehow it wound up we met, and then within a couple of weeks I said, sure, let's do it. So that's kind of a quick whirlwind of how we decided that we wanted to partner together.
Yeah, Heather and I both have stories of healing, and we both found ways to heal our bodies through alternative medicine. So that's one reason why we are both so passionate about this and why we wanted to do this. But one of the biggest things was, I'm actually not from Midland, I'm from Lamesa. So whenever my husband and I decided to move here about 3 years ago, when I decided to do this was sitting down and meeting with people in the community, just networking to see what they would want out of a space like this. Because obviously it's intimidating to come into a new city and just say, I want to open a store and this is my vision, and not really know a lot of people in the community. So that's kind of how we started building the brand. We introduced the brand last summer. We had one pop-up, and then after that pop-up, we would do any event we could through different organizations like Texas Scout Guide, or just we were doing them out of my house. We did it every single week on a Tuesday. We would do our detox foot soaks in my house, and Heather would give people shots, and people would show up. It was crazy. But we built a really amazing community on Instagram, and that's been insanely helpful. Because we had about 6 months prior to actually opening the physical location to build the brand before we were just had a storefront with all this overhead costs. But our partnership has been really amazing. It's been a huge blessing. We really complement each other with our strengths and weaknesses. Like Heather said, I'm normally the one who's just like, yes, let's do it. And she's the one who says, Sloan, let's take a breath. Let's think about it. Let's really talk through this. So we've complemented each other really well, and it's been really amazing. I'll let Heather talk a little bit about her strengths.
So one of our greatest strengths, I think, is our staff, and that was something we were really anxious about because we knew that your staff can make or break you, especially I'm a physician assistant, and I've always been told your nurses are going to make or break you, so you got to treat them well, you have to respect them and all of those things. And we have been excessively blessed with an amazing staff, and I don't know how that even came about, but a lot of it was just based off of people showing interest and really loving alternative medicine, wanting to be a part of it, and so I think that helped just a ton. And customer service is another thing that I feel like we're really good at, and some of that is probably because we've both been patients, and we know what that feels like, we know what that looks like, and so because we know that, we know how we want to be treated, and that's how we want to treat other people. So that is a great strength of ours. The location that we have, the original goal was we wanted to have a beautiful spot where we felt like there was a lot of natural light and a green space and something that felt serene. And after a long road of trying to find the perfect space, we feel like we landed at a really beautiful one. So that has been super helpful. Sloan put that my experience is a strength, and I always feel narcissistic talking about this, but I do have quite a bit of experience both in emergency medicine as well as alternative medicine. I have had just the honor of working under some really amazing physicians that have taught me everything that they know. So I feel like that has been pretty foundational, especially on the medical side of things and bringing in innovative treatments and treatments that we really believe in and that we see patients benefit from. And also just our dedication to quality services. And I think that above all, we focus on patient care, quality care, but also anything that we bring in, we want to have just top-notch, the best ingredients, the best supplies, all of the above. So I feel like all of those are some of our strengths that have just really helped kind of catapult the business.
So these are just some of our places where we are trying to grow. Like I said, we've only been physically open in their storefront for about 7 months. So our social media, I had mentioned our Instagram. It is how we started, how people started getting to know us and know our brand and know us also individually. But we're actually launching our blog hopefully in September. So a blog is coming. We want simply to be not only a physical place where people come and get services, but also a space where people from all over can come to use us as a resource for educational topics as well. So that's kind of what the goal is with social. So blog, we want to do short informational videos using all of Heather's experience. We'll take short, 5-minute long videos on topics, use Instagram, use TikTok, that kind of thing. And then also kind of our email is very sporadic right now, and so we want to make it more seamless, go along with the content that we're publishing that month along with social and the videos and stuff. So that's a goal. We are working on doing quarterly education events in the space. We did one this summer with a couple of midwives in the area, and we're actually hopefully going to do one with our overseeing physician in October as well. So that's a goal. Bringing in new services. We're always looking into bringing new things that we can use in the space we already have without expanding. The space we have sometimes feels a little limiting, but we always try to remind ourselves that we can bring in different services and use it in chairs we already have. And then we're always looking into bringing new products. So we have a small retail section in the front and kind of expanding that. Right now it's more like lifestyle and supplementation, but looking into expanding into clean, non-toxic makeup and skincare and maybe even some food products. A pain point for us has been kind of finding the balance of taking on more, bringing on more services, doing more on social, but then being really good at what we are currently doing. Like I said, one of our goals, or like Heather said, one of our goals is to bring in high quality services and put out really high quality content. And so finding the balance of taking on more, but still making what we're doing great. Another pain point I didn't put on here, but Heather and I also both have families. I'm expecting. Heather has a little girl, and so that's been a hard balance to find, wanting to be moms.
And it seems like everybody at Simply that starts to work there gets pregnant. So that it's wonderful, and we're so thankful for it. But trying to work with that and balance it out has been, a challenge.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So, exactly. Well, we help with fertility, I guess.
I can bring Sammy up and we can do our Q&A, and I also have like our contact form on here as well to follow us on social or come and visit us, but we'll do the Q&A with Sammy.
Well, congratulations. That is very exciting. And yeah, something must be in Simply's water there. Well, I think the last part that you said, it really stuck out to me because there are a lot of business owners that the idea of balance is hard. And how do you balance, running your own business and raising a family? And in some seasons, it feels like you're doing one really well and the other not so much. How are you guys balancing doing so?
I might need to give you the mic for this. I don't know that you ever, and we've only been doing this for, 7 months or whatnot, but I don't know that you ever get a perfect balance. I think that there's seasons of you've got to pour more into the business, or you have to pour more time into it, and then there's seasons of really focusing in on the family. I do try and have set blocks of time where I'm working on Simply and as well as my small medical practice, and then where I focus on things for our family. I'm not doing it great, and if anyone has other tips, please let me know, but I'll let Salone speak to that too.
I'll say this is my first baby, and so the biggest actual anxiety I'm having for when the baby comes is Simply. I'm not worried about the baby or my house or anything like that. I was talking to my husband, and he was just like, Salone, if there's not a product on the shelf, it's not the end of the world. Or, if something goes wrong, you trust your staff, you trust the people you have hired, you trust Heather to figure it out, and it's okay. So I think it's also giving yourself the grace and the space to take the time. I'm really going to try my best to shut my computer for 2 months and really enjoy time with the baby. So I think it's giving yourself also the grace and the space, and also knowing, because it is a local business and most people who walk in the door know of one of us or know that it's locally owned, will also give you the grace and the space if something's not perfect. It's just hard whenever you are a business owner. You want everything to be perfect, obviously. You all probably know that.
Big takeaway there. Give yourself time to have grace and space from your business. Yeah, that's a great point. And you guys are also a relatively new business. I mean, started it hasn't even been a year since you've been in your new space. What's something that surprised you about once you're in your storefront, you have customers coming through? What's something that you didn't see coming as a business owner?
I've been working in the alternative world of medicine for 9 years now, and I feel like 9 years ago, I was in Lubbock, Texas at Veritas Medical, and there was quite a bit of a following there, but I think I knew Midland, or I didn't think Midland was ready for that quite yet. But I've been pleasantly surprised that people are so open to the alternative world of medicine. So whenever we opened our doors, I don't know if I was just thinking we weren't going to get any customers, but when people came in, I thought, wow, that's great. So you believe in this too, me too. So I think there's finding people who are like-minded in that has been a pleasant surprise.
Yeah, that was the whole goal for both of us, to have a space to build a community, to meet like-minded people. And so it has been amazing to see the interest, the reoccurring clientele. Whenever you see, the same customers come in every single week or every single day, it's really cool. It's also been really amazing to see, I know we keep mentioning our staff, but our staff grow. Some of them kind of knew about like the non-toxic world or the alternative lifestyle, but we've had a couple of them who had no idea what it was, and to see them grow in that has been really cool, and kind of be mentors through that has been really cool. And just to see our staff grow and in the spaces that they've been just really amazing. They've always blown me away.
That's great to hear. I mean, staff is everything. You're only as strong as, your weakest link. Does anyone else have any questions? Yes? I'm just going to repeat your question.
Hey, Laura, it's good to see you.
I'm going to repeat your question just for video's sake, but the question was, how did you decide that, people are ready for something like this? Essentially. Yeah.
I think, I don't think that you can discount the gut feeling that you have in business when you know what, it's a good time to go out on my own, or this is the right time to start. I think that is very powerful. But I would also say post-COVID, so I was working in New York City prior to moving here, so I was in the thick of COVID. And then whenever I moved here, I was working at an urgent care, and it was still, pretty COVID heavy. So I would say the amount of people that I have seen in New York City and even in Midland in an urgent care setting that have said, is there anything else I can do? I know that you're giving me this antibiotic. I know that you're giving me this steroid, but is there anything else that I can do to improve my health, to, if I do get COVID, help it not be that bad, or to prevent severe side effects and things like that. So I think in seeing that, I knew, okay, Midland really, they're hungry for it. Because I kid you not, if I saw 40 patients a day, 30 of them would ask me that question. So I think that was super helpful in knowing that there's definitely a market for this place. But also, a lot of my friends and family are very into this world of medicine. So I think that also gave me peace of mind that I think this could do well. And if it blows up in our face, that's okay. But really, the goal is to help people, and there are people out there that, are interested in this.
I came from Houston, and moving here, it was just, I lived in Lamesa my whole life, but it's something about Midland and the local business community and support is really amazing. And I saw it the second I moved here. I knew I wanted to do something in the health and wellness space. I didn't know what that was going to look like. It was going to maybe be some type of like nutritional counseling. I was going to maybe go back to school for a little bit. But when we moved here, the idea just popped into my head, and it didn't seem scary. I think if I was in Houston or a bigger city, it would have felt really intimidating. And so I would say that would be one thing. And also, there's really not a lot of what we have at Simply here in Midland. In places like Houston, I would say there's, an IV bar and a place where you can go sauna, not really where you can do it all in the same space. So I think just being new and a newer idea and more innovative, and being healthy is really trendy right now. It really is. People are all about the cleaner products because more information is coming out. Had this have been 10 years ago, I think it would have been a lot different, but it's just trendy, and you don't sound crazy whenever you say, like, I'm having my baby at home, or I'm, going to get an IV because I'm sick, or it's just a different world than it was. And so I think it doesn't make it feel as intimidating.
Something that we talked about in our conversation right around when you guys opened was how young Midland is. I mean, our median age being 31, younger than other areas. And that seems reflective in the response that the community's had when it comes to alternative medicine and looking at other ways to take care of yourself. Any other questions? Yes.
So
So the question was, what have you tried and what have you done to find these good people that are your staff?
It's just a blessing. I really can't say anything else other than the people we have found are truly so amazing. We have one full-time person at the front desk to help us out, more customer facing, and then we have 2 full-time nurses and then a few other part-time nurses to help on the weekends. The front desk staff, she started as a client and was kind of ready to do something different than what she was doing, and she came to me, and it was perfect timing. Before that, we were kind of hodgepodging. I was there a lot. I had a couple other moms, a couple of other younger girls, and then nurses with mutual friends, right?
Yeah, nurses was mutual friends, word of mouth. Midland is a very, very big word of mouth town, as all of y'all probably know. Yes, marketing and all of that helps, but when it's so much of business comes from word of mouth. Hey, I had a good experience here. What do you think? So for me, nurses was word of mouth, and I used to work in the ER in Midland and then moved away, and then I did urgent care. So I knew some nurses, and I just kind of put some feelers out, but everyone that worked for us was either a client or was word of mouth, I would say.
Sorry if that's not super
Yeah, that may not be super helpful, and I apologize. I think Indeed is great. We just didn't have to go to that route yet. We may sing a different song later, I'm not sure.
No, I think that's a great point. I mean, word of mouth is your best investment when it comes to your business here in Midland. Any other questions? Yes. The question was, I think your branding is really good, and I'm wondering if you hired someone to do that.
I am 0% involved with the brand, so I'm going to hand that over to Salone.
So branding was a girl in Houston, a girl I went to college with. She was actually sick as well. She had Lyme disease, found alternative medicine, became really passionate about it, and she had to quit her corporate job because she was so sick. And then she started this company doing branding and marketing. And so whenever I had the idea of Simply, she was actually one of the first people I called for business advice, but then also brand. So she is still a part of our team. She helps us with brand, email. She did our website. Her name is Gracie Chambers Thomas. She's out of Houston. She works with small, mostly women-owned businesses, and she'll do rebrands or brands from scratch. So she was amazing with all that. Yes, so she helped us through even with like the space, finding, we worked with a local girl who helped us with like interior design in the space, but Gracie has always been involved with those decisions, so.
Any other questions? Well, my question for you guys, I mean, you are our first female-owned business to present, and I think that comes with its own unique challenges. But what would you say has been your biggest advantage as a female-owned business in Midland?
This isn't going to really speak to the fact that we are women, but I think a huge advantage for both Heather and I is the fact that we have been sick and that we used these kind of treatments and this kind of medicines to heal, because that's where our passions lie. So when someone comes in and is sick or doesn't feel well, we can always empathize, and I think that is a strength. I also think being women, our husbands are very involved. They have helped us a ton with the finance portion and everything else. So it's been interesting to see how women interact in times of conflict and men interact in times of conflict. So I think it's just been a cool learning experience. Also just, learning not only in business, but more about myself personally. So I don't know if that fully answers your question, but.
I mean, utilizing your passion to, that is everything. When your story resonates with what you're doing day in and day out, that's a huge, that can be a huge motivator. And then, another challenge, we've had husband and wives who own businesses speak, but friends, we haven't had 2 friends that own businesses. What is that dynamic like? It's your pal, but also you have a certain quota to make that month, and you've got logistics to deal with and sometimes some messy things. How do you navigate that?
So I would say, first off, Salone and I are definitely friends, but we are not best friends. So I think that helps too. And so we're not hanging out at each other's houses every single day. I think that would probably be too much. But I think we've learned, it's almost like we're a married couple. We've learned how to communicate with each other and how the other person communicates. And don't get me wrong, we have had, especially when we were going over contracts and things like that, it was, our husbands were like, oh, this isn't emotional, it's no big deal. And her and I were crying. So it is, we've had our moments of, going, what are we doing? But I think now we know how each other operates, and knowing a lot of it is just encouraging the other person, like, hey, I'm getting really down about this, and man, I tried this, and this patient, this happened, and I called them, and Salone will say, hey, don't worry about it, you're doing the best that you can, and you provide a great service. And Salone is the same way, hey, I'm down about this, or this, situation happened, and I'll provide her some encouragement. So I think so much of it is communication, and then having boundaries of being friends but not being best friends. I'm sure like best friends can do a business together, but I would imagine that would be hard.
Yeah, I think that's really well said. Well, I'll close this out with another question here. A year ago, you didn't have a storefront. You're not about to be a mom. I mean, completely different. Well, there's a lot of people, I'm sure, in this audience or watching on social media that they have this idea or they have a story and they're like, I think I could develop this into something one day, but it's just getting to it. It's just that action. What would be your advice to those young entrepreneurs that it's just an idea right now, but they just need a little nudge to bring it to fruition?
I was very lucky whenever I had the idea and I went to my husband and I said, I have to quit my job, which was a very stable job, corporate job. I was working from home. When the idea was established and I was like, I have to quit my job. And he was insanely supportive. And I know that's not everyone's options. I did a lot while I was still working. I actually filed my original LLC last January, and I did not quit my job until April. I had started the Instagram, the brand was established, like branding design was established. I was also working another job for another non-toxic cleaning company. This is all obviously before kids, and so I had a lot of different time on my hands. If you prioritize it, it can get done. We met with a lot of amazing people as well. I'm looking at Steven. He was one person that we met with. And then just people that you knew who had either started businesses. I had worked for a couple of small businesses, so I had the opportunity to talk to those founders in times of when I was down or needed encouragement, or even, I don't even know where to start. Like, I did not know to file an LLC and the next step of opening a bank account, all those first steps. So it sounds cheesy, but just do it. Do as best as you can. Heather mentioned it, but our whole attitude, and I don't know if it's right, was let's do it until it doesn't work. Let's give it our all until it's very clear that this isn't working for us. And it was really amazing that every step we went, another door opened, or everything we decided to do, the opportunity was there. Not saying that it came easy. It was really hard to find a space. That was a huge pain point for us, was finding an actual physical space. And so in the time of finding a space, we thought we were going to be open last fall. And so in that time of, finding a space, we did more events, or we met with more people, or we decided to do another pop-up event. So just pivoting, obviously. As entrepreneurs know, you always have to continue to pivot, have different ideas. So yeah, that's what I would say.
I would agree, and I think for me it took meeting with people. So Salone had this concept, I had an idea of what I wanted the medical side to look like, and so I started talking to people. I talked to practitioners that I've worked with before, big health and wellness centers in Austin, in Dallas, in New York City, and I think when we had a better idea of what that would look like, it gave a little more confidence, and then we had to, figure out the financial portion, which is where Steven, who's my brother, came in, our husbands came in, and, we met with other people too that own small businesses, and I think once we, in my opinion, gathering information, seeing, oh, this is how other people did it, okay, I think we can do it, we might, pivot and do a little bit differently. So get advice, ask around, see how other people did it or did something similar. And then be willing to adapt when things don't go your way.
Yeah, I feel like that idea of mentorship, that's why we wanted to do something like this, is just to have someone else to lean on, to learn from, and then to pour that down to another younger entrepreneur. That idea of just building a village around you, it just seems like you've done so, and it's paid off. Well, thank you guys. One more thing you want to add here?
I did have one thought when you
Yes.
asked about the hiring process. So when I do hire someone, while I'll get people that come through by word of mouth, I kind of have a process for hiring nurses, and this was advised to me from someone who's a lot smarter than I am. But I'll start with I'll obviously want to make sure they're competent, so I always look at their resume, and then I'll kind of ask around of people that I know that know them. And then I have a phone call with them. And depending on how that phone call goes, I'll get a gut feeling and say, okay, I want to meet with you in person. And so then I'll meet with them in person. It's usually at a coffee shop. So if you see me at Far West with someone else, I'm probably interviewing someone. And then the next step is I tell them to come to the space and meet the other nurses, meet the other staff, and I let them hang out without me there. So then I get a good idea of, okay, I know what they're like whenever I'm around them. I know what other people are saying, but do they get along with the other staff? What does my other staff say? And if all of those things go well, then they get hired.
Wow, I think that's a really great idea, just getting a feel for them. Well, thank you guys so much. If you guys want to give Heather and Salone a hand. Well, next up here, we have Cody Reeves with New Angle Capital. And to give a little background on New Angle Capital, some of you might know, also, this would be a good time before I get started. Refill your coffee, maybe use the restroom, grab another bagel. We'll have some time here just a little bit before Cody gets started. But some background on Cody. You might know him from either Eskimo Hut or the Blue Door. But during the pandemic in 2020, Cody started helping friends of local businesses with their PPP applications. After a couple of them started asking for lending options, Cody decided to start New Angle Capital, where he helps not only experienced business owners, but budding entrepreneurs find lending options to help them grow their business. Here to talk to you about his journey, Cody Reeves. Cody.
Thanks, Sammy. Appreciate all y'all being here, and I do recognize a few of your faces. Can y'all hear me all right? Is that better? Okay. As Sammy mentioned, I have the Eskimo Hut and the Blue Door. I grew up here in Midland, born and raised, and went to Midland Lee, did Midland College for a year, then jumped out to Stephen F. Austin, where I went to school for an accounting degree. While I was working my way through college, waiting tables, I decided I couldn't sit down long enough to be a CPA. So when I got out and decided what I wanted to be when I grew up, I started waiting tables at Outback Steakhouse again, and I really liked their management program. So I became a managing partner with them, and I was with that company for about 8 years before I decided to go out on my own. At that point, I went out and opened the first franchise of the Eskimo Hut here in Midland. If any of y'all remember it, the original location was over on Wadley next to Murray's Deli in a freestanding building that has been overtaken by Walgreens now. So spent my first 11 years there. It was a great success. After 10 years, decided to jump in and open a cocktail bar, the Blue Door, and opened that because we wanted a really nice cocktail bar that spoke to adults with good craft cocktails, but that also, and this is crazy, it was the first non-smoking bar in Midland. So 2012, we finally got it, so back to health, right? It was kind of crazy, but it actually was received very, very well. Did great. And then in 2020, as Sammy mentioned, the pandemic happened, and Governor Abbott shut us down for several months, and our income dropped by over 60%. And if I hadn't been good at financials, I would not have been able to apply for the PPP loan. So I think I was the first applicant at First Capital Bank to turn in the application for the PPP loan. First one to get money from it, and as soon as I was able to pay my staff, it was really helpful to pay my bills and to keep the doors open, because we were on the verge of having to close the doors. And then several friends that I had that own businesses were asking, well, how did you do this? How did you get this money? And I was like, you know what? It wasn't that hard, but I'm good at finances, and let me help you out with this. So I helped them with their applications. And then a couple months later, as Sammy mentioned, they started asking for other lending options, like, hey, I just need a little extra cash to get me through until my next season comes up to pay my staff right now. So I started looking at it, and I've been fortunate enough to be able to go to a bank and get a little bit of money when I needed it, but not everybody's like that. Lots of people are new. Lots of people don't have the credit yet. They don't have bad credit, they just don't have the credit yet. And it's hard to walk into a bank, and a local bank is, they have pretty tough requirements to get a loan, and it's not always easy. And if you don't have an investor that can just drop a ton of cash, opening a business is hard, it's expensive. And so I went out, I did some research, and I opened New Angle Capital. And I have about 40 lenders that I work with. The lenders all work in different spaces, from equipment loans to SBA loans, and then commercial loans for properties, whether it's a short-term bridge loan, or just buying the building you're in. So, lots of local entrepreneurs just need a small space, but as you grow and get bigger, you may have bigger needs. And my lenders work from anything from $30,000 to $50,000 for working capital and up. I've got one lender that won't touch a commercial property under $20 million, and it goes to $500 million, right? So there's everything in between, and there's lots of ways that I can help. And there's businesses that need things right now, and sometimes an opportunity presents itself and you need money next week or in 2 weeks. And maybe you can go to your bank and get money, but they can't act that fast. And maybe the person selling the property needs their money in 3 weeks. Your bank will probably get it to them in 3 months. I have lenders that can get it to you in 3 weeks. They can make a decision. Now, there'll be a little bit of a cost to it, but sometimes the opportunity is greater than that cost. And to put you into a position to where you can get out there and have that and seize that opportunity makes a big difference. So, being self-employed for over 21 years now seems kind of crazy to be able to say that. Eskimo Hut opened in 2002, Blue Door in 2012. It just sounds crazy, and some of the questions that I was listening to y'all ask, and it just made me really think about staffing, like how I've grown as a manager. I had a corporate management education through Outback Steakhouse for a few years, and then opening your own business, you're like, okay, this corporate answer is the right answer, right? It's not always the right answer, and you have to learn that. And having a staff that sticks around and having a good staff is a very important thing. And I know they touched on this with Simply, but my manager at my Eskimo Hut, she's been with me 12 years. And I treat her well. I listen to her, I talk to her. When she has a need, we discuss that need. And nothing goes by me. We always sit and talk. And she knows she can come to me and we discuss things. I think my manager at the Blue Door, he's been with me 9 years. And it's just, there's just the way you work, the way you talk to people, the way you understand them. I think it really resonates with who you are and how you grow. Something else that I think is really important as a business owner is to always take care of yourself. I know it's easy if you're Simply and you're always doing the healthy things, it's probably a little bit easier to do, but when you own a daiquiri shop and a cocktail bar, it's not quite as easy, right? So, eating healthy and working out and just staying in shape, recognizing that does play a role in your mental health, knowing that you need continuing education. Being a business owner, the first few years at the Eskimo Hut was really tough because I was working with a bunch of 18 to 22-year-olds, right? There's not a whole lot of peer-to-peer conversations there. And not that they're bad, it's different, right? So, reading books, whether it's self-help or management books, listening to podcasts, talking to therapists. I mean, there's lots of things that can be really good for your mental health that helps you stay on top of your businesses and help you progress them. And I think that's really important to continue with and to make sure you're running a successful business and to continuing to grow. So I think that's it for now. Sammy?
Go ahead and take a seat. Yep, give Cody a hand. Well, Cody, when I talked to you a few months ago, you were talking about just the difference between running Eskimo Hut and Blue Door to then New Angle Capital. I mean, it's just a different time. Because how long ago was it that you opened up Eskimo Hut and Blue Door? That was about almost 10 years, over 10 years ago?
Eskimo Hut was 21 years. Blue
Okay.
Door was in 2012, so 11 years ago. So
And so now it is a whole different ball game.
absolutely.
And you touched on marketing. I mean, the whole
Yes.
thing. What has been the biggest challenge for you, would you say, starting a new business in the 2020s versus back in the day?
You know, the first successful advertising program I had at the Eskimo Hut was a radio ad. And it was local radio, and I ran it for $10 a spot, and within 5 minutes of that ad being ran, I'd have like 15 cars in my drive-through line.
Wow.
It was crazy, right? And I don't know anybody
Wow.
who listens to local radio anymore. and why would you, right? I mean, it's just completely changed. So it's been a real challenge to figure out the marketing, and that's one of the things that is not my strength, and I hire it out. I'm not good at that, and that's okay. But that biggest challenge has been social media. I'm probably older than most of the people in this room, and I mean, it's not my forte to get on Instagram or TikTok or anything and do that. So I need somebody to step up and do that for me, and I hire it out because I recognize that's not my strength.
But recognizing that it's not your strength, but recognizing that it's important, I think is something to note there.
Yes, absolutely.
And then what is something, I mean, you also started this business in the thick of COVID. As you've met with businesses that also, are opening in the thick of the pandemic, you ran businesses in the thick of the pandemic. What did that teach you about entrepreneurship when there was so much uncertainty at that time?
I think people understanding there's always a way to pivot and change over. While the Blue Door was shut down because the governor shut all bars down, it was probably the busiest months the Eskimo Hut had ever had, right? I mean, everybody's going through a drive-through and getting their drinks at that point. So understanding that you need to pay attention to what your customers, one, are allowed to do, but two, what they want to do, what they're looking for, how they tell you what they're looking for. Sometimes it's by them not coming in. Sometimes it's by them not coming back. That's them telling you something. Sometimes no answer is an answer. And picking up on that, finding the way to adjust to it, and changing your business to adapt to it is very important. So.
And you've run a franchise, you've run a bar, and New Angle Capital is a different industry,
Right.
and a different a different audience as well.
Sure.
Has that been challenging to go from different ends of the spectrum there?
It has, however, I've changed over the years as well. So, from working with 18 to 22-year-olds that want to, sell daiquiris or like be a bartender, I've transitioned into peer-to-peer relationships with people who are opening businesses, who want to start things, and giving them guidance. One of the first things I tell most people wanting to open a business is go find a great attorney and a good accountant. Just pay them. They're worth every dollar. Just pay them. Doesn't matter if you're a CPA. Pay somebody else to do it. Just get it done, right? Mm-hmm. I think that's really important. But New Angle Capital's been a transition, but it's been my wheelhouse altogether. Finances have been what I've been all about. Yes, it's fun to sell a daiquiri, but I want to know how much money I'm making off that daiquiri, right? That's what I want to know. And can I pay the bills, and is it putting dollars on the table? And New Angle Capital, I'm really getting to help other business owners put together plans, find the money, help them get what they need to get their businesses started, and that's very rewarding to see that happen. So.
Yeah, I bet so. Any questions for Cody here? Yes.
I do have a couple of, sorry, you want to repeat the question?
Yep,
Sorry.
the question was, do you have funding for agricultural businesses?
I do have a couple of lenders that work with USDI and agricultural businesses. So ones with smaller areas, or yes, actually, yes. So, simple.
Angel, you had a question?
Sure. You want to repeat that?
Oh, yeah. Oh, I was like, why are you looking at me? I don't know that answer. yeah. Okay. When is a business ready for a loan? When do you know you're ready in that process? I was just so into that question. I'm like,
It's okay. No problem. That's a really good question, Angel. So many people come to me and wanting me to help them put their business plan together, and that's not quite what I do. I think that's a very important aspect, but the business plan should be put together. They should have done some research and know what it takes to get into their space. Whether it's, don't come to me and say, I'm thinking about putting this in over here, and if I say, okay, well, what's your business plan? How are your finances? What's your pro forma look like? If you say I don't know, you're not ready, right? I need a business plan. I need your finances. I need probably at least a 3-year pro forma showing what this business can do and justify. Every lender that I work with is going to want to know how they get paid back, right? And I'm going to need the financials to show them how they get paid back. As I mentioned before, lots of local banks just can't work fast enough, or they have stricter requirements than some of the lenders I work with. But these lenders still want to know how they're going to get paid. So having that all put together, so when I ask you questions like how are they going to get paid back, simple one. What's your credit score? What are your assets? What's your balance sheet look like? Those types of things are very important and required before I can even move forward with anything else. So.
And if you're a business and you don't have a business plan yet, there's multiple local resources here. The Small Business Development Center, SBDC, that's just right across the hall. That's a free business consulting service. BAM Consulting. There's multiple organizations within Midland that can help businesses put together a business plan. That's also something businesses do in the Midland Entrepreneurial Challenge as well. Any other questions for Cody? Brian, favorite books?
I didn't talk about reading a lot. I said you should read. Favorite books? No. The 7 Habits is obviously a great one. I think, and this is going to sound so like, I don't mean it in a bad way, but there's the book, The 1 Minute Manager. I don't know if anybody's heard of it. It is. It's like, you can read it in about 45 minutes. It's so simple. It talks about how you treat your people, how to just be clear with your staff, how to be clear with your customers, how to set expectations, here's your answer, it's very simple. I go back to it a lot. I have every one of my managers read it. My manager who's been with me 12 years, she's probably read it 5 times. I make her go back and we go over it because there's things I forget. I go back and read it because it's just a good reminder of things. But while I won't say it's my favorite, but I think that's a good one and really good for new entrepreneurs as well. So.
Yeah, that's great advice. Any other questions? Yes. The question was, do you have any lenders for startup businesses, or are they already established?
Yes, I have several with startup businesses. And I think I have about 13 that deal with SBA loans, and they do on commercial properties, 90, 95, and 100% loans. So while you might have to come up with money for, the operating expenses, you might not have to come up with money for the building and different properties. So, but yes, there are quite a few for startups. SBA loans do take a little bit longer, but they are obviously much better rates. They're backed by the government, which makes everything a lot better. I know there's several that deal with their franchises as well. So if you're jumping into franchising, they automatically look at that and know that it's a successful business and it's already got the numbers to prove it. So,
Any other questions here for Cody? Yes, sir.
Yeah. Please.
I'm just going to let that question sit and you just take that over because I don't know all those acronyms.
Yes. The DMB ratings, all of them matter to some extent. A lot of my lenders are hard money lenders as well, so they look at the scenario, not necessarily the people. I've financed deals where a guy had a 580 credit score. Seems crazy, right? But like the deal was good, and he had experience, the property was good, and the financials looked good, and that lender looked at it and said, "This is a great opportunity. It may go down, but we think it's not, and we think it's going to make money." So yes, those credit scores matter. The lower the credit score, you're going to have higher rates. It's it's like everything, right? If you have a lower credit score, it's going to have higher rates. But one of the things I really try to focus on is help businesses that aren't bankable right now. Let's get you financed now, and then in a year when you are bankable, back to your local banker and use them, because that's what they're looking for. You know, they want to. The local banks want to help you. They just can't right now. And another great benefit about my lenders is they don't require you to put all of your depository funds into them on a daily basis. Your local banks are going to do that, but you still get to keep your money local. And that's something I really like, money local. But so after a year, get your money back local. In the meantime, all that cash flow coming through, keep that local as well. So.
Yeah, that's great. Any other questions? Yes, back there.
Go ahead.
The question was, what areas do you lend in? Texas or, specifically West Texas?
The entire U.S. and we've even done a couple in Puerto Rico. So. Yeah,
Wow.
Yeah, so.
And then I think we saw a question over here. Someone raised their hand. Anybody? Another question? Nope. Well, Cody, to close this out here, you talked a lot about self-investing, whether that's, through reading, whether that's through taking classes, whether that's through just finding a good mentor. What would you say, if you could go back and tell Cody, who's opening his first Eskimo hut, what would you tell him that you wish you would know then, but now you do know?
That's a great question. Relax and be patient.
Be patient. Wow.
I'm active, go get everything. Let's do it now. Let's make the decision now. Let's do it now. And sometimes you just need to slow down and think things through. Sometimes you need to listen to other people, and you don't know everything. I'm sure Cody from 2021 knew way more than he knows now. So, yeah. But anyway, I think that's it. So.
Slow down and be patient, and then what was it? Take time to give yourself space and grace. So hopefully, moving forward in the weeks to come before our September meeting, you can take a second to give yourself time to do both of those things. Be patient, be still, give yourself grace, give yourself space. I mean, I'm feeling a new slogan coming on, honestly. Well, thank you so much, Cody. Let's give him a round of applause here. Well, what did you think of your, for a lot of our first timers here, of the first Founders Blend here for you? Yeah, hopefully you got something good out of it. There's so many little nuggets of wisdom that are shared throughout Founders Blend. And if you're thinking to yourself, man, I wish I could rewatch that. Well, you're in luck, because you can follow us on social media at Founders Blend Midland. You can follow us on Facebook. We've streamed this meeting, so you can go back and rewatch it. You can also follow us on Instagram, LinkedIn, all of the above. We are just so grateful to have something like this outside of, the Chamber of Commerce, outside of, our resources here. This is just another resource here for our entrepreneurs. So before you go, I was told that survey had some issues on getting through for that sign up. Well, I fixed it now, so if you have time, I'd love if you could scan that QR code there up at the front door and just sign in so that we've got your contact information. And then a reminder, our next meeting is Wednesday, September 20th, and it is going to be right back here at the Seed, and you will be hearing from two businesses, Midland Birth Center along with Decor Drop. So we are excited to hear from them. We'll have coffee and food, again, donated. And then we wanted to also take time for community announcements here. There's a lot going on, and sometimes it's just hard to stay in the loop. So if anyone here has community announcements, Cece and Brian, I'm going to lend you guys the mic, because I know you do have an announcement that pertains to entrepreneurs. I can let you come on up here. And then if anyone else has community announcements, this is something that, say, okay, Midland Community Theater is opening a show on Friday, come and see it. Or, hey, we have a fundraiser for blah, blah, blah. This would be an appropriate time for something like that. Okay, Brian, community announcement?
Sure, yeah, big one. So the Midland Entrepreneurial Challenge is kicking off again this year. The registrations are actually live, but we haven't really started the full press or marketing But the orientation sessions, you'll be getting some information about that. Will be going out on September 12th, 13th, and 14th. And if you don't know, this is CC here. She's the program coordinator for the Office of Innovation and Commercialization and helps coordinate much of the event for the Midland Entrepreneurial Challenge. So for all you new businesses out there, definitely check that out. I think it's midlandentrepreneurialchallenge.com is the website you can go to get more information on that. I think the last thing I was just going to mention, so this is kind of one of the first events that we're having in the Seed building now that it's been renovated. We're still kind of finishing out the renovations, but I encourage you to kind of walk around, take a look at the spaces we have. All the spaces here are kind of available for rent for like outside events. So we have 2 classrooms, the auditorium here, but feel free just to kind of like walk around and take a look. If you have any questions, you can ask either one of us. We've also got our Makerspace director, John, back there who runs the Makerspace at the library, and Dana who runs the student entrepreneurship programs here at UTPB. So if you have any questions, just let us know. We do have some office space. We still have a few offices back in our incubator in the back. So if you're looking for some office space, definitely come in and talk to me about that. We've got some really nice space here in the building now.
Great, awesome. Okay, you guys, we'll see you next month.